Well, I did it. I finally read another one of the books on my TBR that I have been waiting and waiting and waiting to read, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee. So I've been meaning to vlog this trilogy for a while, and I finally posted the read-along on my channel. You can go check out the video up here. If you still want to jump in on the Jade City read-along, feel free to do that, or just feel free to take part in the comments underneath each of the vlogs as I post them between now and November. I really enjoyed this book, had a lot of thoughts that I share in the vlog, and I will also come back at the outro to share kind of an overview and wrap-up of my opinion of this book. But for now, I hope you enjoy the vlog.
Hey guys, so I am freshly showered and finished up with some of my office type work for the day, and I am finally ready to start Jade City. I'm so freaking excited about this read. I really still am going into this fairly blind, other than knowing the major kind of tone in terms of mafia family. I am aware that this isn't your typical like ancient or medieval era fantasy kind of book, which is totally fine with me. I'm so excited about this. I am hoping that this is a fast-paced read. I am hoping for a lot of really deep characters within a fresh, interesting world atmosphere, which I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get. I want to have my heart broken by this book. I really do. That's my goal. I want to feel all of the emotions with these characters, and I realize that it may take me a couple books to get there. That's okay. I don't cry super easily with books, so we'll see how this goes and if Fonda Lee can accomplish that. But yeah, I'm really excited. Let's get started. This is the first time that I've ever opened a fantasy book and looked at the map and seen an airport. It's kind of weird. I had to like reset my brain. Like I knew this was in a more modern setting, but it is really weird to see an airport on a fantasy map. So I just wanted to share that. Okay, it's horrific lighting in here. I don't know if that really helps or not. Not really. So I just picked up something from my parents' house, but I've been out driving all day today. And I listened to the first 2 chapters of Jade City, and I had to stop immediately and talk about it because, wow. So first of all, immediate investment in this story. Like, some great characters right off the bat. I'm really invested in both sides of the, you know, these 2 kids that are trying to steal Jade, and then this little like mafia group of guys who just took them. And she's doing such an incredible job of giving us so much world building right away in the beginning. We're getting so many little bits and pieces of important information, but it is so effortless. It's so effortless. The presence of magic, and you know that it's tied to the jade, and that the more jade you have, essentially, I'm assuming, the more powerful you are. But then we find out that you can't just use it, you have to be trained in it, and that like it was weird because I expected the more modern setting to really throw me off at first, but it didn't. It was really easy to just immerse in immediately, which I love. Also, the audiobook narrator, which I'll probably physically read a lot of this, but I really like this audiobook narrator. He's doing an excellent job. I really like him a lot. Hilo is really interesting, and I don't know much about this series other than the fact that a lot of people seem to really hate Hilo. If he's either like the everybody's favorite or everybody's least, like they hate him. I can't remember which one. And so now I'm really nervous because I'm like, he's super intriguing and interesting. Am I supposed to like him or not? So I'm just gonna put that aside and we're just gonna see what happens, and I'll make my own judgment call on that. But so at this point, he's a very intriguing character, and I'm invested in the 2 boys already, and I'm very curious to see what happens. So yeah, like what an absolute banger of an opening. That was incredible. I'm very excited about this book, you guys. I have a really good feeling. This is going to be a good series. Okay, so I'm back with another vlog update, and I'm going to admit right now, it is really difficult to stop and remember to vlog with this book. Like, I just want to keep going. I don't want to put it down. I don't want to pause between chapters. So I kind of binged through about 140 pages of this since starting, and there's a lot going on. I just finished I'm up to chapter 18. So I have met Andon, who I really like as a character. He's very interesting, and he reminds me a lot of Lon, who I think is my favorite character at this point. I love how Lon's perspective is so... he's really struggling with the weight of being a good pillar, and also kind of getting out from underneath the shadow of his grandfather and the legacy of his father, and there's just a lot going on there. Hilo is one of those people that believe that you can show affection through violence, and that concerns me a lot, and it made me like his character a little bit less. I wasn't loving his character in terms of just who he is as a person. I think he's very well written, but I wasn't loving who he was as a person even in the beginning. But now I'm like, I want to like him, because I do tend to gravitate toward those kind of hothead characters, but I'm really upset with him for how he's treating Andon and some of the decisions he's making, and it's just... Then we meet Shay, who's very interesting. I like the dynamic that she brings to the family, and this whole... she kind of brings in a really unique aspect of world building to show what's beyond the island of Kikon. And her resistance to wearing jade, I think, is also a really good contrast with a lot of what else is going on in the story. So I really like what she's bringing in. And then we get to the part where we find out that Doru was a child predator. So that's lovely. I mean, I didn't like him before, but now he can go die a slow, horrible death, and I wouldn't be mad about it. You know what? Kudos to Fonda Lee for drawing attention to some really tough topics in here. And she's doing a good job of eliciting the emotions that I think are really appropriate for these characters so far. Yeah, I just got to the part where Lon was trying to have a little bit of time away, and then Hilo gets his name whispered. So I don't know what's going to happen after this. I don't know if Hilo is on the chopping block, if he's gonna die. I don't think he's gonna die. I'd be surprised, but could happen. So that's where we're at right now. I'm really, really enjoying this. I think the world building is really balanced. It's intriguing. I'm getting enough information. There's been a couple of spots where I feel like there was a lot of information to take in at once. But overall, I'm really loving the atmosphere of the story, the dynamics of the characters together, and I'm going to try and read a bunch more tonight. Okay, so today you get my bathroom cupboards because I am a mom of 3 children, and this is one of the only places that I can quietly film a vlog segment during the day. So Lon just took out one of the main fists of the Mountain Clan, and he's hurt, and I'm just getting this really bad feeling. Like, this is about to all go to crap. I'm starting to feel stressed. I am starting to feel the stress, which is great because that means that I'm invested in the characters, which is always a good sign. But I'm really nervous, and I'm really hoping that Lon's injury doesn't, like, turn into something worse and that he, like, dies from it or something, because that would be really depressing and I'd be very upset. So, yeah. Hilo, I think it's sweet that he wants to marry Wen. It's Wen, yeah. I'm still kind of side-eyeing him as a person. Shay is really interesting. I really like the dynamic between her and her two brothers, and we're getting a little bit more of the kind of past history of their relationships, and I really like that. I love the pacing of how we're getting little bit of insights into the family and the history of the family. So yeah, we're gonna keep going today, and we're gonna see what happens, and I'm going to cross my fingers that Lon's injury doesn't get worse. Okay, so I'm on the front porch because this is the place where we come to have a little bit of a freak out in the middle of reading. I'm about halfway through the book, a little over, and Barrow has come back into the story for a little bit now, and he's basically going to be involved in a terrorist attack on the Lilac, which is of course where Lon frequents. And I'm now in Lon's perspective, and he's at the Lilac, and I just know this is not going to end well. I just know this is not going to end well, and I'm upset about it, and I'm really tense about this part of the book, and I'm just hoping beyond hope that something happens where somehow everything's okay and Lon manages to thwart this attack. But I also know that that's not as likely. So I'm just sitting here and basking in the sunlight and the vitamin D that I am desperately going to need before reading the next couple of chapters of this book. All right, is it time for a late night Tori should have been in bed 2 hours ago rant video? Yeah, yep, Lon died, which was heavily foreshadowed, so it wasn't like I didn't know it was probably coming, but I'm really upset about it. I'm upset, and that is the only articulation I have for how I'm feeling right now. This is gonna be a mess. Like, I'm a little over halfway through the book. The rest of this book is going to be a disaster, and I'm assuming that the second book is the clan war. And Hilo is going to, I'm assuming, take over the clan, which presents all sorts of problems. And I'm guessing Shay's gonna get pulled back into things, and Andon is gonna be really upset, and it's gonna be a giant mess, and they were just about to out Doru for being a traitor, and I don't know what's gonna happen with him now. Barrow's character, like, he kind of exists at this point just so that that scene with Lon could happen, so I get it, because without having an actual character leading up to that, it wouldn't have made sense. I'm not loving Barrow's point of view, though, which I don't think is the point. Like, I honestly would be surprised if Fonda Lee was like, I hope people really love Barrow's point of view. But anyways, I'm rambling, I'm really tired, and I'm very upset. Really upset that Lon died, because he was my favorite character, and I was so heartbroken for him, and really hoping that things were gonna turn around. So help me, if something happens to Andon, I'm gonna be very upset. Okay, so we just got to my in-laws' house for the weekend, and I'm over, as you can see, quite a ways over halfway through this. And one of the things that I really wanted to touch on with this, Shay has picked up her Jade again, which I kind of figured she was going to, especially with Lon dying. Like, what I wanted to say was that the tension in this book has very much shifted. Even before Lon died, it was starting to shift, because in the beginning, I felt like the tension was more broad. Like, there's you know, some tension between the clans, there's tension between the family dynamic, we're getting to know these characters. The Mountain Clan is really making me upset as I'm reading it, because they've basically just decided, Aitmata has basically just decided that she is the one who is obviously the superior,
and that her clan is obviously superior, and so they should be the ones to be at the top when these two clans merge, because they're going to merge because that's what makes sense for everybody. And she's just decided this, and her clan has just decided this. And so she's willing to kill, if she has to, everyone in the No Peak clan because she's decided. Like, I can't even begin to wrap my brain around that kind of mindset. But the tension has definitely changed. The tone of the tension in this book has taken a very big change, because before we were kind of on a somewhat even playing field between the two clans, and now all of a sudden we have very, very long odds for the No Peak clan, and I am definitely rooting for Hilo a lot more now. And Shay, I feel really bad for Andon, because it's clear that he holds a lot of guilt over this, and so does Hilo, but Andon's taking it a lot harder. And I think Hilo is really starting to show, behind all of this bravado, he is genuinely afraid. Okay, so I am on sprints right now, and I am working on Jade City again. I just read the scene where Shay talks to Woon Papaduro, I'm probably saying that wrong, and Hami, and her conversation with the two of them, I really liked, because I think Fonda Lee's done a really good job of bringing us along with a lot of the other characters in terms of how we're feeling about certain events in the book. And Shay's appointment to Weatherman is tense, because there's a lot of people within the clan that are not going to believe her capable of handling a role like that at this point. And I think as the reader, I'm also there. Like, I'm looking at her trying to figure out, how is she going to do this? Is she going to be able to handle this? Is this going to be, you know, too big of a jump for her from where she's at? Because Hilo's the same way, right? We're looking at Hilo as if, oh my gosh, he's supposed to be the fist, not the pillar. How is he going to handle this? Is he going to make a big mess of things? Is he going to be able to save the clan from certain extinction? They're underqualified, but it's not that they don't have any skill sets in these areas. It's just that this is, like Shay said, 15 years prior to when she thought she was going to even have to think about being Weatherman. I really like the conversations that she just had with those two men that she appointed, because I think it shows some real maturity and intelligence on her part. And as a reader, I'm going, okay, maybe, like, I know she's still going to make some mistakes, but she's showing some good judgment here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. I don't know, because it's not just about her and what she does. It's about what everyone around her does. And those are factors she can't control. So anyways, I just wanted to point out that scene because I really liked that scene. And I liked that it showed her tactics switching between the two discussions, because I'm a big nerd about behavior and how people's behavior are different, and having the same conversation with two different people can go two completely different ways. So I think it's really cool that we're seeing that switch in tactics and how she's approaching each of these people differently. Okay, I'm back again. I'm on chapter 43, and Andon is definitely starting to show his grief and his anger and the guilt that he's feeling. I'm interested to see how his arc continues through this book. The scene where Shay goes and talks to the council with all of the luck bringers and the lantern men and everything, that whole thing is very well done. I'm excited to see how that keeps going. And it occurred to me as I was reading this that this book is kind of a coming of age novel, in the sense that both Hilo and Shay were kind of sowing a little bit of wild oats when we first meet them in the beginning of the book. You know, Shay's coming back after the stint abroad. Hilo is the horn and has a lot of responsibilities, but he's still very impulsive. And it's a slightly older coming of age novel. Like, our characters are not teenagers, but they're still young, and they're being given the responsibility of generations within this clan. So I think it's a
kind of a cool, subtle coming of age feel, because now we basically have Hilo and Shay and Andon. So it's, you know, the dynamic in the clan has shifted younger very quickly. I'm back. So the conversation between Wen and Shay, I like reading two characters having a conversation and kind of getting the measure of each other, and I'm really excited to see how Shay and Wen work together, and that she's bringing in the Stone Eye side of things a little bit more here. I don't even know. There's so much happening right now. There's so much happening. And the tension here is just like, I have no idea what Shay and Hilo are going to do. This is an example of urban fantasy making very good use of fantastic elements. I love the way that magic and Jade are just so intertwined with this very urban world, and it doesn't feel like it's out of place. It doesn't feel like it's being forced into the story. It's very natural, and I find that really interesting. And I think it's subtle enough that it's not overpowering the story. And I think if you tried too hard to force too big of a magic system into a story like this, it would very quickly become more of a caricature. And the fact that Dora just escaped, I don't like Aitmata at all. I appreciate that she's a character who is being written very well. The conversation she had with Shay in the temple, like, there's no doubt what type of person she is. And Fonda Lee is doing a great job of building her up into this terrifying figurehead. So I am very much hoping that Hilo and Shay, I would like to see a little bit more from the side characters. Shay and Hilo are the very epicenter of all of this, but I still would love to see a little bit more from like the other people that are involved in this and helping them. I only have about 60 pages of this left, and I'm hooked.
All right, so that is the end of my Jade City vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. So the family dynamics in this book, I think, are really the highlight for me. I loved the trio of siblings at the heart of everything. We have Hilo, we have Shay, and we have Lan. Obviously, we know that Lan, unfortunately, does not survive this book, which was a massive blow to me as a reader, because Lan was originally my favorite character, and I would say he probably still is in most ways. The pressure of the position that he was in and realizing how he really had to let go of who he was as a person to adopt the role of Pillar completely, and it honestly caused his death halfway through the book. I think it was really cool too how Lan kind of stepped into that father figure role for his younger siblings a little bit, and because his own father was not there to be Pillar in his place, he kind of had to take that on, probably younger than he would have if his father had survived. So there was just a lot of things with his character that I really appreciated. Let's talk about Hilo. Hilo is a character that really has a dynamic arc throughout the book, because we meet him where he's in a position where he's comfortable, right? He is built, born and bred to be the horn for his family. He knows what to do. He's a fighter, right? That's his personality. That's what he knows how to do, and he's good at it. Sometimes he steps a little bit too far and Lan has to kind of dial him back in, but all in all, he is in the right position for the family, to benefit the family. Now, what I like about this is that Fonda Lee is not afraid to push her characters completely out of their comfort zone. When Lan dies and Hilo becomes Pillar, the tensions and stakes drastically change, but it drives the story forward, so we don't lose the momentum that we've been going on through the entire story. It just takes a very different tone, because now instead of having the right man in the right position in the family, we now have Lon gone and Hilo stepping into his brother's position and really not knowing what he's doing, because he was not ever meant to be the pillar and he never wanted to be the pillar. Then we have Shay. And Shay is also a character that I really grew to like more and more as the story went on. I really liked her character. There were so many moments with her where I could see the growth and I could see her thinking through how she wanted to take her next steps. And she was very thoughtful. She was very logical. And I think that was a great contrast to Hilo, especially after Lon dies. So I think there's just the family dynamic to me in this, especially of those three, is really where the heart of the story lies, and it was really fun to read. It was very interesting. I love that Andon is part of it. I like this kind of adopted younger brother with all this expectations on him and this idea that he comes from this past, and the way that Fonda Lee wove that into the ending. I think she did a really good job with that. I really like the tension between the generations, because she's showing how that with an older generation in this story with Khal Sen, that there is a way to do things, and he's so angry that he's having to actually give up control of what the future of the family is going to look like to Lon and then to Hilo. So there was just so much there. Then we have Doru, who I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about because I hated his character, but he was also an interesting character within that family dynamic. Now, outside of that, let's talk a little bit about Aitmata and her mountain clan. I'm guessing we're going to get more of her side of things perhaps in book 2. That'll be interesting to see where Fonda Lee goes in terms of POVs and what focus we're going to take in Jade War. The thing about that is I know that Aitmata says to Shay at one point that she and Lon could have worked this out. We could have negotiated because he would have seen reason. But the problem is Aitmata only has one goal in mind, and that is for her to end up with unified clans and her at the top. And I don't personally know that Lon would have done that. I think that he would have stuck it out. I might be wrong. The one character that I really hated, and I know that I'm in good company with this, I couldn't stand Barrow's chapters. I really loved the hook at the beginning of the story, but after a while I just found his chapters so annoying and tedious. And that ending is not okay. Like, Lon was my favorite character, and Barrow's over here desecrating his grave. I'm not okay. In terms of characters, I could sit here and talk for a long time. The magic system I really liked. I like that we get little bits of it. I would like to have seen a little bit, or understood a little bit more of how the different types of magic enhanced abilities work, but overall I wasn't really mad about it. I actually don't mind a subtle magic system, and I think it worked really well as a backdrop to these characters. And I thought that Fonda Lee did a really good job balancing how much of the book was spent focused on the magic system. It did get a little bit slow in some aspects in certain areas of the story. It definitely isn't what I would consider fast-paced. I think her prose is just detailed enough to give us a ton of information, and there were some spots where I felt like that information got a little bit heavy, but overall it was very interesting. I had a hard time putting it down. And I'm just really looking forward to the next book, to be honest. I'm very excited to continue the series, and if you've been reading along with me this month, I hope if it was a reread for you that you loved it just as much as the first time, and if this was your first time jumping into Jade City, I hope that you really enjoyed it. But if you didn't, either way, I would really love to hear down in the comments below what your thoughts were on this first book, whether read or first time read. Just be aware of spoilers and try to be cognizant of that. I am really loving this. I'm really excited to see what happens next. I hope you guys had a good time if you were joining in on the read along. And if you're just here to watch this video, that's awesome too. Still feel free to join in the conversation. So we will be moving to Jade War in October. I'm very excited to read that. I will be doing another vlog and bringing you guys along with me on my thoughts for the second book. So I hope that you will be joining me for that as well. I hope you are having 5-star reads. I hope that you are having a great week, and I will see you in the next video.